Also waiting very patiently is Dr. Nigel Fletcher now, who joins us from London, UK. Nigel, your first reactions, not a coin flip election anymore. What does this mean for American democracy?
Well, yes, as you say, this is turning out to be a rather quicker result than we might have expected. All of the projections seem to be that it was going to be as close or even more close than it was last time. And of course, last time we didn't really know the final result for many days after the election. So I think in some ways, the fact that there appears to be a clear result overnight is going to be a positive thing for confidence in the electoral system, if nothing else. It's always seemed a bit of a puzzle to some of us why it is that it takes quite such a long time for the United States to count its votes. And there is a problem with that, because as we saw last time, it allowed the narrative to take shape from Donald Trump as the losing candidate then, that there was some irregularity about the result. What I think that this result, which obviously is going to be very depressing for a lot of people in the United States and around the world who have not supported Donald Trump, there is, I suppose, at least a silver lining in the sense that we won't be seeing what I think a lot of people had feared if there had been a narrow victory for Kamala Harris, of perhaps another insurrection, as we saw in the last election on January the 6th, with Donald Trump refusing to accept the result. It seems to have gone pretty quiet on the Trump campaign on irregularities in Pennsylvania, which they were talking about earlier in the night. So I think that this is still a fairly close result, but as you say, Donald Trump is inching towards that magic number of 270 electoral votes. All of the networks are really looking at that as being almost inevitable now. He's likely to get possibly over 300 electoral votes. So he's clearly going to win this fairly decisively. And if nothing else, a clear result in an election perhaps does mean that we won't be seeing the scenes of violence that we saw, frankly, when he was losing.
Right. Now, Mr. Nigel Fletcher, this is Eric talking to you. Trump did indicate while he's campaigning that there will be no form of violence at all. So that is very clear at this hour. I just want us to talk about what he said during his victory speech. He says that he's going to reduce taxes. We are going to do a lot more to make the nation great again. This is a massive victory for democracy and freedom. Trump is known not to speak about freedom and democracy, but right now he's inching closer to, telling the people that he's actually going to change all that. He's going to be a changed man. Do you really think he's going to be a changed man once he emerges victorious?
Well, I think that it's very easy for him to, once he's won the election after a period out of office, to be able to define himself, as he has done throughout the campaign, against the incumbent, against Joe Biden and against Kamala Harris. And I think we've seen him doing that. As a populist, which is what he is, he has been able to get a lot of success out of what populists tend to do, which is telling their supporters that things are wrong with the country and only he, as the strong candidate, can do something about it. It's much more difficult to defend your record in office if you haven't been able to do something. And of course, that's what he suffered from last time. The reason that he lost the election was in part because he had not been seen to have delivered, particularly on the issue of COVID, that he was thought to have handled pretty badly. But when you're trying to win an election from opposition, you are an insurgent. You are able to campaign saying that things are wrong with the country and that you're going to be able to solve all of the problems. And that's what I think that lay behind his success in 2016 when he first won, and that's what's lay behind his success now. campaigning as the person who is the challenger to the establishment, to those in office, is a classic populist move, and that's what we've seen him doing.
Nigel, what are the results so far reflective of? We see him lead in the Rust Belt Blues Wall states, so to say. These states has swung in the past. States like Michigan, where we saw Kamala Harris and Trump both appeal to the union workers, and of course the Arab Muslim population was very crucial in that state, and of course states like North Carolina, Pennsylvania. What are the results so far reflective of in the American population as a whole?
Well, what we're seeing is the fact that the appeal that Donald Trump has had and has managed to sustain throughout his time as a candidate and as a presidential contender is to appeal to working class voters and to those who feel they've been left behind by the establishment, however we define that, and to make, as I say, a populist appeal to them that things can be better if they vote for him. And I think that's something which has been quite difficult for many of us to understand, because you can look at the policy platform and what Trump believes in, particularly his views on race, for example. Many people having great concerns about that, and simply not able to understand why it is that ethnic minority voters would want to vote for him. Equally, the man is a self-declared billionaire, and yet he's appealing to poorest people. So it is a very difficult thing for people to understand, but he does seem to have managed to retain that appeal that people had for him in 2016.
Nigel Fletcher is a political analyst and commentator from the UK. Nigel, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for talking to us.